Blessings, everyone. I want to talk today about our spirit guides. So, this is Dagu. Say hello to Dagu. He came through me yesterday morning. I was having a intense feeling of needing to paint. Intense in a very peaceful, beautiful way. Like something's coming through. Had no idea what it was. Get out the paints. Being told use all the chakra rainbow colors, put them all on the table, and I just start painting, thinking I was going to do something very free flow, energy healing type of work, not sure even what was going to happen. So I was in a very peaceful state, like I said, and what started to come through first was this, what I'll call now the chin area, this red, kind of this open vessel area. And then it kind of came up here, and then it went up here, and I was told to put the blue across this way. And then the two circular things at the top, the orbs, I'll call them. My point is that I was all over the place. It was not a neat progression, but it was in my flow because I was in a state of complete flow when I was doing it and just peacefulness. So I will talk more about Dagu and what progressed as I learned about him through the day, but let me first backtrack and talk about spirit guides in general. So if you are frustrated because you have tried to make contact with your angels or your spirit guides from the other side, what I would say to you is to keep going, keep opening up to it, because it is something that did not come easy for me either. When I was going through my awakening, the first voices I heard is what I would call my goddess voice, and that's when a lot of the divine feminine wisdoms were coming through me that eventually became my two books that I wrote for women, that I wrote for myself, and that I was told to then publish for women. And so I used to call that my goddess voice, and I do understand the difference between it because they have a different feel or vibration to them. But I was always trying to contact my spirit guides, and I never could. I would try guided meditations. I would try just quietly turning out the lights, putting candles on, trying to talk to them, sense them. And though I have sensed things around me all the time for many, many years, even since I was a child, I didn't really know what it was. So when I understood the concept of that we all have one main spirit guide and then a slew of spirit guides that come in and help us at different points in our life, of course, I wanted to contact them and have a name and a face and like a real connection in the sense of how we look at our human real connections. So that was a frustrating process for me. And when it really opened up for me is when I became initiated into practicing Reiki. When I went and got certified, I hate that word because of the sense that it really is a ceremony, not a certification. I mean, it's an ancient spiritual practice and you are being inducted into it. And immediately, the first time I started to give Reiki to a receiver, I started to have this back and forth conversation going on. And I was into it a couple minutes until I realized, oh my gosh, I'm having a conversation with someone. Or to me, it felt like at least 3 or 4 beings. And then I got to the point that when I was doing Reiki with someone, I could actually feel them in the room with me. But I've never seen them in the sense like across the room, there's this hazy figure, shadow. My clairvoyant abilities tend to be more of feeling a presence when it's in the room, whether it be a spirit that's passed on or an angel. Angels have a feeling to them. They have this like lightness, this kind of pink ethereal energy. And spirit guides have more of a feeling like if you're hanging out with a buddy or a friend, honestly. Just like somebody's in the room, somebody's standing by the bed, somebody's over there by the closet, like that kind of thing, watching over you, protecting you, being there if you need it. So keep going. You have to find your own way. How I ended up talking to this particular light being or entity yesterday, Dagu, was after I painted him, and I do feel he's a masculine presence. I really had a deep desire to go out on a bike ride, so I went for a 13-mile bike ride, and I was flying. And something about that, the frequency of how I was moving, allowed me to lose my regular ego-based mind thought pattern. And I started to talk to him and ask him questions. And he started to talk back to me. We basically had a dialogue back and forth. And I'm going to tell you what that was because it was important for me. But I also think it was an important message for anybody who happens upon this. As I say, if you happen upon this video, there's a message here for you. And if it's making sense, you don't feel like turning it off right now at 4 minutes in, then there's definitely a message for you and something coming through in what I'm going to say, in the visual imagery of the art, in the tone and frequency of my voice. And I would say that's how you tune into your own spirit guide, is by really spending more time dropping, the earth-based, heavy, denser frequencies of worry and fear and stress and gotta go and gotta do and all of that stuff, and finding those pockets of time where you fall into beingness, and which is a lot of what Dagu had to say. Those times of just being, you're just like flowing and floating, and you're here, but you're not. And not in the sense of feeling disconnected completely from your body and floating out in the ethers, but sort of like that balance place of just, it feels right. It feels flowing. It feels open. And this is good. This is where I'm supposed to be. That feeling. I don't know how else to describe it. So find your way of communicating with your spirit guides. Sometimes people like to meditate on their third eye, which is between your regular eyes. So sometimes people like to stare at a candlelight or a fire, or light some incense and stare at that. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. It might just be a bike ride, you have to find it. It could be when you're in the shower in the morning, because that's when you're the most relaxed, or in the evening. And don't judge yourself as far as when that communication happens, because it will happen when it's supposed to happen. Even though I've been practicing Reiki for almost 2 years now, and I've been hearing my spirit guides, and they've been giving me paragraphs and paragraphs of dialogue when I do a Reiki session for someone or an oracle card reading. I'm just starting to, paint them. They're coming through, and I'm getting an idea of what they look like. And that's making me feel closer to them and more connected. But I know that it was time for me to open to this and to have a name and a face to put with the sensation and the vibration. Everything in life comes when it's supposed to. Nothing is happening that's not supposed to be happening. Everything that's happening is happening because you are either blocking it or calling it in on some level. And there is a reason for that. Even if you're blocking something. Riley's going to join us. It's okay. Don't judge yourself. Just try to keep talking to your inner self, your divine higher self, your spirit guides, your angels, and to God, Goddess. There's no reason that you can't talk to the ascended masters like Jesus and Buddha and the original source energy, spirit, whatever you want to call it. I call it all kinds of things, but it's where we come from. I am. So the other thing I would like to say about spirit guides is when you become open to allowing things in, you want to protect yourself in the sense of, before you start any type of ritual or conversation, same as when how you have a feeling about a human being in this lifetime, where you get a feeling like, that person's not being truthful, or that person is just not good for me, or shouldn't be in my life. You want to put up an area of protection for yourself when you're starting to communicate with beings on the other side of the veil. And it's very simple. All you have to do is say, I am protected, I am connected to only that which is love and light. Only that which is love and light can come in now to help me understand, give me guidance and wisdom on my higher path. And you will know, because if something doesn't feel right, or it feels like somebody is coming through that is telling you something or saying it must be this way, that is not a spirit guide or an angel or a light being. It is probably another type of more darker entity that's trying to kind of feed off your beautiful energy. And I don't want to get into talking about that because that's a whole other video. The thing that you need to remember, bottom line, is that if you ever feel like a dark entity or energy is coming in, you have free will, and you just need to say,